I'd like to take just a few minutes to talk about the IRAC method. The IRAC method is best used for issue spotting, and if you need a quick review, you could always go back and look at Appendix A of our text where it talks more about IRAC. However, we're going to discuss it in a good depth right now, so you may not need to do that, but if you want some more information, go and check out Appendix A. So IRAC is best used for issue spotting. Issue spotting is basically just how you take a fact scenario or a case and you look at it and decide what case law, what causes of action, what law applies to it, and how you would pull out things, because not every fact scenario takes out every part of the law. When I give you a fact scenario, it's not like, oh, well, it could be criminal law, or it could be negligence, or it could be intentional torts, or it could be intellectual property, or maybe it could be a couple of those things, but it's not going to be everything. So issue spotting is where you kind of condense it down, you figure out what the question, what the case, what it's going to, so that you can further analyze the question and give the information needed. So IRAC helps you do that in a methodical way, in a way that you can just go step by step and fill in the blanks, so to speak, although it will need some critical thinking at some point. So IRAC, you probably already know this, but IRAC stands for issue. The I is issue, the R is rule, or law. Think of it as law, because generally we're going to be talking about what is the common law, what are the common law elements of this cause of action, what are the rules about, what is the case law about this, what does the statute say. So that rule is going to be law. Think of that as law. The next part is application, and this is where your critical thinking really needs to come in, because you need to take the facts of the case and the law, the rule, and you need to push them together and say, how does the rule apply to the facts, or how do the facts apply to the rules? And then I always want a conclusion. Now, the conclusion may be cut and dry, and it says they fit all of the facts fit all of the rule, or the rule fits all of the facts, and therefore this is the conclusion every time. But think about the law as being very changeable and moldable, because this fact is a little different than the last fact that they applied, and so it may or may not be the same conclusion every time, but I want you to take your critical thinking skills and apply those facts to the law, and then give a logical conclusion and a why based on all of that application. So just a few minutes, I'd like to just go through a real scenario, and the one I'm going to choose is actually your first question from your midterm exam. All of those questions at the end, all 6 questions, let's say 5, because I wasn't crazy about number 6, so I just gave you all 10 points for that one. But basically, the questions were all IRAC questions. So let's take number 1, and I'm just going to do the first part. And after this, I am going to post my answers to all the midterm. I haven't done that yet, but I'd like to post my answers to all of the essay questions at the end of the midterm, so you can see how I would do it. Now, I'm a lawyer, and I am the teacher of the class, and I know these things, and I have a lot of practice with this, so I'm not expecting, and hopefully you can see from my grading that I wasn't expecting you to get everything that I wrote down. I just wanted to show you what it would look like if you really issue spotted and you found everything in the answers. So keep that in mind when you're looking at it. Here we go. So the first question was basically, we had this business called Comtac that was in California and was a software manufacturer. And Comtac regularly bought materials from another business called Electrotex that was in New York. And the question asks, if there is a dispute that arises, and we don't really care what the dispute is about, because that is not part of this question. If a dispute arises and Comtac wants to sue Electrotex, can Comtac bring the suit in California? That's the first question. The second question is, can Comtac bring the suit in federal court? So we're only going to talk about the first one, because I think you can get the second one based on the first one. So if I use IRAC, I'm going to start with issue. What is the issue? Well, in this question, it's very easy, because you can actually take the question and just turn it around and give me the thing it's looking for. We don't actually say the thing it's looking for in this question, right? Because I wanted you to come up with the thing it was looking for. You guys all did that just fine. But the thing we're looking for is jurisdiction. So the way that I would write the issue is, the first issue is whether the California State Court has jurisdiction over the parties in this action. So there's my issue. Now, what is the rule about it? Well, one of the rules is that you can have in personam jurisdiction over anybody that is in your state. So automatically ComTAC, well, and here we're doing rule, you can have in personam jurisdiction over somebody who's in your state. Second, this is the application, ComTAC is in California. So therefore, California court already has in personam jurisdiction over ComTAC. However, the issue we're really dealing with is whether it has jurisdiction over Electrotex. And most of you rightfully talked about the long-arm statute. So let's say the rule for the long-arm statute. Based on a long-arm statute, a state can have jurisdiction over a defendant if the defendant has minimum contacts with the state that are sufficient to justify jurisdiction in that state. So there's your rule for Electrotex, for long-arm statute. How do you apply that? Well, if ComTAC can prove sufficient minimum contacts with the state for Electrotex, then they can sue them in California state. Well, what do we know from our scenario? What do we know that will show or that we could use to prove that they have minimum contacts? Well, what it does say is that ComTAC routinely purchases materials from Electrotex. So I would say in our application section, we could say, arguably, because Electrotex regularly supplies goods to ComTAC, who is in California. That means they are buying and selling goods back and forth. Because it regularly sells goods to a company in California that we know about, that should justify minimum contacts with the state. And here's the big therefore, so we're getting to the conclusion. Therefore, the California State Court should have jurisdiction over Electrotex, sufficient for ComTAC to file its claim in the California State Court. So here you go. We've done the IRAC, and it's probably a little more involved than you thought it might be, because I know that a lot of you, when we're going through it, you're kind of missing some steps in there and you're combining a lot of steps. And I know that's kind of how our brain wants to work anyway, is just to kind of put them all together. But I'd like you to take a step back and see if you can kind of break them apart. It may feel a little weird at first, but I guarantee you're going to get a lot more analysis and you're going to learn more about what the law says about it, because you're going to start putting out all of the elements. You're going to start doing it very methodically and very piece by piece so that you can actually see what each element is. And this is what is very important in the law, is to get each element and to talk about what the importance is of each of them and then how to apply the facts to each of those. So good luck on this. I think you're going to do great. You guys have been doing great all along. Really, you guys are picking this up, even though this is hard, I know. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'd like to see some really good IRAC in discussions and in our assignments this week. Have a great week.